All righty. He's Rodney Harrison from Football Night in America, the former Charger, former Patriot. He joins us now. What if Bill Belichick said that to you? That, you know what, I want you to sit down in season. I want to rest you for the playoffs. How would that have gone over?
Well, obviously, as a player, you want to play, but I think it's really up to the head coach to really figure out the tone of his team, and if his team's tired, if they're a veteran team, if they're older, and if you need some rest, sit them down. I don't know what the big deal is, and how can a commissioner dictate to a head coach if he should play his starters, if he should bench his starters? I think it's absolutely crazy, and I think there's a time and place for everything. I think the commissioner should have other things that he worry about instead of worrying about if a head coach rests his starters or not.
I know you live in Atlanta, and you certainly hear from those Falcon fans. And I said, even if they go 15-1, they're not going to be the favorites going in from the NFC when they go into the playoffs. Your thoughts on the Falcons and how good they are compared to everybody else in the NFC?
I agree with you, Dan, and I watched them last night. I was at the game, and, you sit there and you're shaking your head. You're like, wow, this is a 10-1 team, or they're about to beat the Saints, but I wasn't impressed. Early on, they tried to run the ball and had some success, but once again, they go to start and passing the ball all over the place. And you look at that defense, and the heart of that defense, the defensive line, they're really soft. John Abraham, he can get to the quarterback, but they are really, really soft. And it's nothing about Matt Ryan, and he's a good friend of mine, that makes me say, wow, this is a guy that can lead this team to a Super Bowl. I think, overall, I think this is a pretty good team. I don't think this is a great team, and really, this is a team that you want to play because they don't have that playoff experience. I don't think Matt Ryan is that big of a threat in the playoffs. He's thrown a lot of interceptions, and I just don't look at this team as being one of the fearful teams in the NFC.
The Saints team bus got egged by some airport workers. That ever happened when you were with the Patriots?
It happened when I was with the San Diego Chargers. Not even eggs.
Those were the Charger fans who were probably doing that.
No, it was the Oakland Raiders fans when we had a bus to the stadium. It wasn't eggs. It was beer cans. It was bottles. It was bricks, and that's the way they kind of treated us. And that, let me tell you something. That is the worst place in America to go and try to play in that black hole. You go up there, you beat them, you kick their butts, and they're so drunk. They're so, I don't know what they're toasted off of. But, man, to go in that place and you're fearing for your life because they're throwing bottles and beer cans and all different types of stuff at you.
Were you ever afraid, nervous?
Of course I was. Of course. Every time I went up there and played, I was scared.
But the Patriots were never treated that way on the road?
Not at all. Our team bus was good. Obviously once we got on the field, the fans were kind of unruly and gave us a piece of their mind. But, when you're in a stadium, you don't worry about fans. But when you're driving into Oakland Stadium, you worry about your life.
What's going on with the Niners with the quarterbacking situation with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith? I've said the past couple of days, I viewed it as a luxury, not a quarterback controversy. If you have other teams who don't have good backup quarterbacks. The Niners are lucky. They have interchangeable quarterbacks. How does this not work?
They're not interchangeable, Dan. First of all, I don't think they're interchangeable. I don't think anyone viewed Alex Smith as saying, okay, we just have to game plan against Alex Smith. You look at Alex Smith, and it wasn't like he was great in the beginning. I think Kaepernick gives you a different dimension. He allows you, he forces the defense to have to change and do so many different things. And really, as a player, it's your job to make it almost impossible, okay, in terms of your play to have a quarterback change. And the fact that Alex Smith was just pretty average to begin with, it made it pretty easy for Jim Harbaugh because he sees this guy each and every day in practice, and he knows how good and how much pressure, Kaepernick putting the pressure on the starting defense. He knows how good this kid can be and how he can develop this young kid and how he doesn't have really bad tendencies from other coaches like Alex Smith has.
But as a former defensive player, what would Kaepernick put into your mind that Alex Smith doesn't?
He can run the ball. He can throw it. He's elusive. and you see the energy and the excitement that his other teammates are playing with because they know they have such a dynamic quarterback. You know, I mean, it could be a third down at 10. You know Alex Smith can't run for 10 yards. With this kid, he can drop back, he can roll all over the place, and he can run for 12 or 13 yards at any point in time. So it forces you to either spy him. You can't. The defensive line can't just fully rush him because, you know, it's so many openings in that offensive line, kind of in the opening where he will be allowed to go because he has that athleticism and that ability. So, you know, he just puts a lot of pressure on the defense, and it almost seems like Vernon Davis, I don't care what he says, that he gets excited about this kid playing quarterback because now he becomes, you know, back the focal point of this offense and not just being a guy out there.
He's Rodney Harrison from Football Night in America joining us, Dan Patrick Show. You expect Ben Roethlisberger to play against the Ravens?
I think, Dan, if he can't be closer to 75-80%, I wouldn't expect him to go out there and play. But they really need some help because, you know, Charlie Batch is not the answer, and I don't think they have a chance. I think this is a must-win for them with Cincinnati playing a lot better. Cincinnati really looks like a good team. They're quietly sneaking up on people, and they're just kind of just handling their business each week. They beat the Giants. Last week they had a good win. And I think really you have to, you know, if you're Pittsburgh, you have to look at this as a must-win.
And Ndamukong Suh worth all the trouble?
I think he is. I think he's a tremendous player. He'll never get credit for being a great player that he is because of all these distractions. And it comes a point in time where he has to grow up and realize that it's not about him, it's about the team, and he has to become less of a distraction, and he has to stop doing the silly penalties, man. I mean, when I first saw the play that he kicked Matt Schaub, I didn't think that it was an infraction, but then I watched it over and over again, and it was clearly an infraction, and it was dirty. He tried to kick him. And these are the little silly penalties, the silly fouls that really take away how great this young player could be. Because now you think of Ndamukong Suh, you think of a dirty player. You don't think about, you know, a great dominant defensive lineman. It's very disappointing.
I mentioned the embarrassing moment Thanksgiving night as we're right outside the tunnel as the Patriots came running out and Bill Belichick, you're standing next to me. Belichick runs out. And he shakes your hand, and then I got ready to put my hand out, and then Belichick turned and ran to the other sideline.
I don't even think he recognized you, Dan. You know, I mean, you know, you look at you, you're 6'2", you kind of look like a lot of other guys that was just on the sideline. It's nothing that's really different about you, nothing that really stands out about you. So I wouldn't take it personally if I was you.
Dude, I'm bigger than you. I'm bigger than...
No, you're taller than me. I'm bigger than you, okay? You're taller. You're not bigger.
How much do you weigh?
I'm 218 pounds.
All right, you're just a little bit more than I am.
I'm more muscular than you.
Not really. You hope you look like me when you get to my age.
When I get 60, if I can look like you, I will be happy.
So the fact that Belichick looked at me as just a generic guy on the sidelines?
No, he didn't look at you. I mean, he didn't even acknowledge you.
He didn't acknowledge me. That's true.
Right. So he probably didn't see you, or you were just like a cloud of other kind of white guys sitting on the sideline.
I thought that he may have thought Brady has a brother that I didn't know about. That's what I thought.
No, I think he probably looked and said, is this Brady's grandfather?
Wow. Well, you know what? I'm going to miss you when you go work for Belichick. So, you know, you sucked up to him. And you know, you were like, hey, Bill, good to see you. Love you. Win tonight.
Well, I mean, you sit there and say these things, and I'm sitting here, you know, before your producers called me, I'm sitting on the phone with Sam Flood, our executive producer, and Tony Dungy, and they're telling me, well, it's about our meeting. It's not about Dan's show making weight. So that's something that you really should, you know. I told them I have to do the Dan Patrick show at 11:05. They said, hey, you know, it's about our show, Football Night in America, not his.
Wow. Okay. All right. We'll see when I talk to those guys this weekend. By the way, do we have dinner Saturday night together?
No, we don't. Sam was nice enough to let us out.
Oh, okay. All right, bud. I'll see you this weekend. Safe travels.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
All right. Rodney Harrison, Football Night in America. Yeah, Belichick comes running out. I think out of the corner of his eye, I think he saw me. He went, oh, no, talking hairdo. Keep going.